We always start with the world, and this time it features all new rendering, lighting, and landscape technology. It allows us to have 16 times the detail and even view distant weather systems across the map. Fallout 76 is a prequel to all the other games, and it's our biggest one yet. It is 4 times the size of Fallout 4. Set in the hills of West Virginia, you are one of the first to emerge into an untamed and very different wasteland.
Years after our great nation began, we gathered together to honor the completion of Vault 76. This sprawling underground shelter may have been engineered by Vault-Tec, but it was built by you. So that if the bombs do come, our way of life will endure.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Life is all there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, blowing like the breeze. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, take me home.
For when the fighting is stopped and the fallout has settled, you must rebuild. Not just walls, not just buildings, but hearts and minds, and ultimately, America itself.
Country roads, take me home, country roads.
In Vault 76, our future begins.
Now, most people don't know West Virginia that well. It is an incredible array of natural wonders, towns, and government secrets. This is where the actual nuclear secrets are. And the quest the Overseer sends you on will take you through 6 distinct regions, each with their own style, risks, and rewards. Vault 76, one of the very first vaults to open, was built to celebrate America's tercentenary, which is an awesome word, by the way. Like, that's your word of the night, tercentenary. You are one of the very special few selected to be an occupant and spend 25 years underground waiting for Reclamation Day, the day the vault opens.
Good morning, Vault 76. This is the Overseer. I hope you all enjoyed the party last night, even those who may have overindulged and overslept. But it's time to get up and get out there. We've been locked away long enough. Today is Reclamation Day.
Oh, finally! I feared you'd never wake up. Don't you remember? Time to leave the vault. Most of the others have already gone.
It may be time to leave, but I'll never forget the day you all entered Vault 76. You come from every walk of life, every race, color, and creed. But you all share one very important trait. You are this country's best and brightest. But more importantly, you'll always be my family.
Goodbye. Aloha. Ciao. Arrivederci. Au revoir. Auf Wiedersehen.
So I guess for a lot of people, for you guys, it's a matter of Fallout 76 doesn't tell you a story, it's about you creating your
There
own
is
story.
a story.
Right.
There's a lot of, we want to let the players create story. That's what they already do in our
Right.
games. That's what a lot of people like about our games. There definitely is a story in this game. You know, what happened to the people outside after the bombs fell? Where are they?
Right.
What are the new threats in the world? How do you solve that? And our designers have done a really, really good job with it, and they've had put in a very tricky situation of how do we do the things we like to do, but all of the humans are real people.
In terms of missions and that kind of stuff, is it like you've got a finite number of main missions and then there are like repeatable stuff outside of that, or is it just like...
There's a through line, like there is a main quest line,
Okay.
and then there's like we used to host of side quests. Some of those are repeatable. There are events you can join in; those repeat. So that kind of structure is very similar to what we usually have outside of the events. An event will pop up in an area, and that's something where you get a prompt on the screen, and then you can join it if you want. Like this event is going on.
So we do get sort of like the typical Fallout areas in certain spots. Like when you first start at the game, it's kind of nice and welcoming, but then you get to the crappier, dangerous parts and get the more traditional feel. Because this area it was like factories and things like that. And our justification for why it's all caked in white powder is that those factories were like full of chemicals and everything spilled out. With all the hills and the topography of the area, it's really beneficial for that, because Fallout 4 was actually like a really flat game, so it's hard to get those landmarks. Thankfully there's like skyscrapers and Diamond City, that giant glow, but in this case we have like an entire mountain range that bisects the map. So we can take that and put all these different landmarks on that. Like we made this ski resort called the Top of the World, which basically looks like a giant red UFO, and that's like a thumbtack in the middle of the map that you can orient yourself around. And then we have the giant bucket wheel excavator on another side. But it's also designed in that way where you're supposed to sort of lose where you're at once you go down in those hills. So you're deep in the valley, you're like, where am I at? And so you're encouraged to actually then go up the hill, and then we put all these like watchtowers and stuff, so then you're like, that's where I am, and pull out the binoculars and look around.
When we think about games, we think about worlds and the choices that you can make, the stories that you create and tell yourself. By creating a wide open world with very few rules, we have a game more than any game that we've ever done where the choices are yours, where you'll decide what happens. You'll decide the heroes and you'll decide the villains. There's plenty of cool new Fallout creatures, and we even use the folklore of West Virginia to bring our Fallout versions to life.
Where they're kind of like feral ghouls that are not quite so far gone. They still know how to use guns. So that's essentially our raiders, are the Scorched. But yeah, then most of the other things are just all the creatures and things like that. And I think it's like 63 things that we have now, because we had all the ones that we had before, updated and fixed those, and then add all these new ones too.
Look, this is a whole new world for all of us here. And fortunately, our friends at Vault-Tec have made a series of informational videos for when all of us emerge together.
As you venture out into this new American frontier, some of your fellow survivors may not be neighborly. Chin up there, sport. Not all Vault 76 dwellers will be so hostile. Find them and brave the new world together.
The destruction of life.
Like previous Fallouts, you can play this game solo in Quest. But the easiest way to survive in the Wasteland is to team up and build together.
We had some very grand plans for this game, which I think, you know, once we talk about more later, will actually come to fruition. But the game we're very proud of right now that we're going to ship is about 24 people on the server, 24 to 32. One of the things that Todd pushed for the whole time, which we were all scared about a little, was you're going to open up the paper map and see this huge area, and you're going to see where the other people are, for good or ill. Right, so it's, do you want to go help them? Do you see them, they're doing this huge event that you can join in and get the big reward? Do you want to try to shoot them? However that our PvP system ends up working out. You know, do you want to trade with them? They will become friends that you follow across all the servers. So all the servers are you know, 24-person instance. You load in, you go in, it'll be full of people. You'll be able to play with them, quest with them or ignore them, have your teams and buddies. Like if you're my buddy, and you load in the game, I can just jump and immediately join you in your world, and it's seamless. Like it basically a load screen, you're in. We wanted to make it fun for a single player, right? We wanted to make it fun for teams. Our team limit right now is 4. It's all adjustable, but our team limit right now is 4. So we wanted to make it fun for co-op 4-person level gameplay, and we wanted to make it fun for bigger, like 12-on-12 death matches, right? And we're trying to, like we normally do, we're trying to jam it all in and hope it all works out.
Of course, you can play this solo, all right? You'll be who you want, exploring a huge world, doing quests, experiencing a story, and leveling up. We love those things about our games too. It would not have it any other way. But also, like many of you, we have always wanted to see what our style of game could be with multiplayer. So many of us talk about experiences in our games, but we've never experienced them together. So about 4 years ago, we hit upon an idea that is perfect for Fallout. Open world, survival, every person and character is real. And it was an idea that we just couldn't shake. We knew we had to do it, and do it in a really big way. We have always wanted to tell that story of what it will be like for you and the other characters who were first to leave the vaults. But there is one big difference with this game. It's that each of those characters is a real person. Because yes, Fallout 76 is entirely online.
Can I play offline?
You cannot. You will
Okay.
see, even if you're playing by yourself doing quests,
Yep.
you will see other players.
Okay.
And you can interact with them, or you can ignore them, because there is a quest line. One of the main things that I saw feedback was when we say there are no NPCs.
Okay.
Okay, so that's one of the big differences that we really leaned on, which is every human, every character you see is a real person.
Yeah.
But there are still robots and terminals and holotapes. If you see a lot of the quests we do in Fallout 4 that are kind of this found world quest thing, we still do all of that.
Okay.
But then, so if you sort of picture doing those quests, or you watch someone play Fallout 4, it's like that. But then, as opposed to running into a gang of raiders, those are real players.
So there's always PvP, like you can never, it's all...
Well, first of all, I'd say we're still dialing that.
Okay.
We don't want it to be griefy, but we want to have some drama there.
Okay.
So there is a way that you can decide to do PvP, and we are currently balancing kind of the incentives for someone who wants to be very aggressive to people and those who want to ignore it.
Yeah.
And that really comes down to, you know, the in-game incentives and then also the social incentives. But I would say we don't want it to be griefy in any way. And we'll dial it in so people can say, look, I don't want to deal with that.
So you can pick. It's like I don't want PvP.
Well,
you want a little bit of a little fear, I guess. It sounds
we want a little bit of drama there without without them ruining your game. Once we were really playing together and saw that collision of people and systems, that's where you say like, oh, this is still Fallout. Like if you sit down and play it, it feels like Fallout, but its loop and mood are very different. Right. The other players are a system that we don't control in a great way. Let's not shy away from it. Let's kind of solve it. Let them collide. And where there's extra bad griefing or systems, we have a number of levers in place. But that for me is where a lot of the drama is. Like, let's let them all collide. And it'll be messy for a little bit, but we can solve it. I'd rather do that than like play it safe. It's like boring. You can sit though in any design meeting and come up with like a list of reasons not to do something.
Right.
It's pretty easy. Like, well, I'm worried about this, and I'm worried about this, and I'm worried about this, and I'm like, I'm worried it's gonna be boring. Like, let's at least try it. Like this is what we do. Like, you know, let's at least like, if this is a vibe we want, let's go at it.
I like the idea of a multiplayer Fallout game, but I kind of still, there's a voice in my mind wondering if there, as someone who likes the classical Fallout experience, will I be catered to properly? So for someone who knows classic Fallout 3 for example, onwards, will those people be able to get that kind of experience out of a multiplayer Fallout game like this?
Well, I can't answer that and say absolutely for every Fallout player, because there's so many things in a Fallout 3 or a 4 or New Vegas or the old ones. There's so many parts of those that to say this is what a Fallout fan likes.
Right.
I see all types. So the heavy NPC quest and dialogue system, like, it clearly doesn't have that. Watching a lot of people play it on a Twitch or a Mixer or whatever, the stuff they're doing a lot, which is exploring and leveling up and finding areas and finding stories, it has tons of that. Right. So if they're like that part of it and just doing that on their own, it's, you know, it really tickles that. It is different, but it feels like when you sit down and play it, it feels like Fallout 3 or 4. Right. But it has a little bit of a different loop because you run into other players. You don't know what they're going to do. Right. And that to us, once we started doing it, is very, very exciting. Right. The other thing I'd say is, you know, clearly we're fans of other franchises or things, and I understand some of the anxiety in terms of when there is a new entry, you don't want that to be a missed opportunity. Like, people like what they like. And so we kind of keep that in mind too, but as developers and creators, we like to try new things, right. and this is one of them.
A lot of people are wondering, you know, VATS obviously in an online environment. How is that going to be accomplished?
Still there.
Okay,
it's real time.
So it's real time VATS.
Yeah.
Okay. Not slowing time, really?
It doesn't slow time.
Right, yeah.
But it lets you target and pick parts and all of that, but it's in real time. It still works great.
Yep.
It's different, obviously, because it's real time.
Yeah.
But the basics of it, which are, well, I'm not that good of a Twitch shooter.
Yep.
You know, you see some other games. That's a good reference point. I won't even mention it. People will dig into it too much.
Right.
But you can kind of picture how it works. Like, I'm not as good at lining up someone and getting a headshot, but I've made my character good at VATS. Oh, and now I can do that. know you've played a lot of our games and a lot of online games, but this one really is unique. We have built a platform, 100% dedicated servers that will support this game now and for years to come. Your character isn't tied to one server. As a matter of fact, you'll never even see a server when you play. You'll be in a world with dozens, not hundreds and not thousands of other players. It's the apocalypse. It's not an amusement park, okay? And you'll be able to join your friends whenever you want, and all of your progression goes with you. You can build wherever you want. And you can also then move that to wherever you want.
After thermonuclear war, man's towering industrial marvels may no longer stretch to the heavens. What separates man from beast? It is his desire to build. Get started with camps. The construction and assembly mobile platform. Construct your home of the future. With your home secure, you can now craft handmade ordnance at your leisure to give your altercations that personal touch. It falls on you and the ingenuity of your fellows to rebuild the America we hold dear. But don't become too attached too quickly. Monitor your environment for anything out of the ordinary. The home of tomorrow may undergo certain challenges. After a crisis, work with your neighbors to ensure success. There's no I in nuclear wasteland. Document your adventures. Your memories will shape the new American dream. What's that sound? Oh dear. There goes the neighborhood.
So the other big thing that you talked about was camp building. So there's some questions about that, and you mentioned that you can like build together. Can you talk a little bit more about how that works? Like, are you all building your own structures, and also how do you move that all your settlements and that kind of stuff between sessions and servers almost? But you guys talked about.
Well, basically, the main part of that is we let you build wherever you want. There's around key locations we don't let you build, so you're not messing with quests or things that we have there.
Right.
But again, the map is huge, so you get a pretty big space that you can claim and then build in. When you log off, that stuff goes away as well.
Okay.
Then when you log back in, we re-put it down.
Okay.
You can also move it because, I mean, people don't know where they want to build. They play the game a lot. So if you build it in one place, you can then go somewhere else and say, oh, I like this view. I'm going to move my camp, and then you can replace all the stuff. And there's a little bit of effort in that, but we let you blueprint. You can blueprint all of your structures and stuff, and then put those down kind of as stamps, and just re-put it down.
And like I said, you have your camp, which are mini workshops you can place almost anywhere. There's certain restrictions on that because we don't want you like the griefing outside the exit of the vault. But you can place them all over. They go, when you move servers, if that space is available, your camp will just be there. For some reason, again, this is a big game with a low number of people. It's overlapping and we can't place it there. It will be packed up and blueprinted. You can place it somewhere else. Boom. And then the crafting is a huge part of the game because, again, you're going to want to find very specific creatures or flora to combine for recipes. We are allowing crafting mods, crafting guns, crafting ammo, food, water, armor, power armor pieces, like the stuff that was there before and more. Super mutants are attacking, Aunt Mabel's farm. So you'll go over and to protect from super mutants, and you don't know, like, will 10 other Yao Guais come running in at the same time because someone trained them in from across the mountain. There's public workshops where you can go in and claim them. You have to kill the monsters in there. There might be events spawning once you take them. Depends on the situation, the timing, and the area. And when you take them and you fortify them, you actually have access to resources that are super valuable for crafting. So you'll get access to ore, some kind of ore, lead, and then lead's used for make bullets, and then you can make bullets, which in that game, any of these games is super helpful.
Now, I know you may have played survival modes in like some of our previous games or some other online games, and people wonder, is this hardcore survival? I like to think of it maybe, it's more softcore survival. Maybe that should be a new ESRB descriptor. Death never means the loss of progression or the loss of your character.
What is fun in the parts of survival and what is not fun in the parts of survival? So you have to eat and drink to stay alive. I heard a funny anecdote the other night. Someone was playing the game and they were starving and they wandered into a herd of cats. And they're like, I've never been happier to see a herd of cats because then I got to eat. It's sort of terrible, but.
We love dynamic game systems. So we thought, why don't we put multiple nuclear missile sites on the map? And then let all of you do whatever you want with them.
Today's episode, Atomics for Peace. When you emerge from the comfort and safety of your vault, the world you know will have changed. Take your friendly old neighbor, Johnny. Rather than coming over to borrow a cup of sugar, he may now be coming over for murder. The time has come to seek out greater means of protection. Nuclear armaments. That's right. Courtesy of your Uncle Sam, these wonders of the atomic age can be found right in your own backyard. But how does a fella like you acquire nuclear weapons, you may ask? Begin by inquiring with the locals. Gently coax them into cooperation. Use a little elbow grease if you have to. In the likely event you don't acquire a full code on your own, do not give up. Search for others who might be harboring a grudge. You'll have that nuclear launch code in no time. With the power of the atom at your fingertips, be responsible and consider your target carefully.
Attention. Launch sequence activated.
Will your bomb land on a rival camp of degenerates? A random stranger? The local wildlife? Whatever your target may be, take advantage of the resulting fallout to gather rare and valuable resources. Yet these rewards don't come without risk. The fate of this new world is yours to command with the power of the atom.
The end goal in this game is this. It's a cyclical story with the nukes. These huge winged bat-like creatures crawl up out of the world called Scorch Beasts. You're supposed to find the nuke codes to kill them, to seal their fissures. That also, again, irradiates the world. It'll put a big, the nuclear weather there, and all the flora and fauna will then change to be higher level and have rarer drops. Rare crafting materials in certain sought after, basically items and materials. We're going back to the legendary system. We added more tiers to the legendary system for weapons and armor. So you'll find those things there, and then that area will fade down over a certain period of time, and players will have to find the nukes again. And depending on where you nuke, different things will appear because there'll be different flora and fauna there.
how are they deciding? Are they working together against the world, or are they working together against themselves? And then what happens when you get a group of people that want to work against other players versus a group of players who want to work against the world, and then they get nukes? Do they create an online Cold War? Do they all decide to just blow up everything? So I think the nuke part is probably the one I'm most interested in seeing what they do. And we're trying to make it fun where it's fun to just launch them. Because it's very hard to like, all right, you have the codes to the nuclear missile. You're like, you know what, I don't want to launch it. If you can sort of incentivize them to, hey, it's gonna be really fun to launch it where people aren't, and make that part of the world this high-level zone. So that kind of design I like a lot. Okay, it's gonna be a high-level zone, you're gonna roll in your power armor, you're gonna make this really hard level for yourself. I'm really interested in what people do there.
So one of the things that people got a lot of excitement out of and questions is the nuclear element of it, where people can drop a nuclear bomb after they do the hard work.
Right.
So at the same time, you guys were saying that you don't want this to be a game where, you know, you lose progress because you die. How do you get nuked and retain progress? Like, what is the thing? How does that work?
First of all, when you die at all, you pick a place to respawn and you keep going. Death is already annoying enough. There's no loss of items, or it's loss of time.
What is the kind of like implication on the world of a nuclear bomb being dropped there? Like, is there a permanence to that then after that?
It is not permanent.
So is
We're still messing with how long it lasts.
Right.
But if you take, and the other thing is the world's really big. So wherever you nuke, it kills everything in that area if they didn't leave.
Yeah.
So you could stay there and like, I'm gonna get nuked.
Okay.
It damages everything being built, that was built. You can repair it. As opposed to us saying, we've designed these high-level zones or raids, the players get to do it. And of the 6 regions, they act differently. If you nuke the Cranberry Bog, you're gonna get very different creatures, you know, flora and fauna in there. But you have to be high level to really deal with the, you know, the fallout of that area when that's going on.
And then you can build a cooking stove, like most survival games, make the food more efficient. You know, we put diseases in. We have something called mutations. So Fallout 4, we had that inverse meter for your health and your rads. The more rads you had, the less your health was, and you're able to cure that. So in this game, the more rads you have, the more chances you get mutated. And they have all sorts of neat, like they're almost like traits from Fallout 1 and 2, where they have a plus and a minus. You can cure them if you don't like them, or there's ways to permanently get them if there's ones you really like. Way late game stuff. But yeah, you'll get these mutations, and they're mostly gameplay. They're not. Some of them are visual, but they're mostly gameplay side stuff that like tweak your character a little.
Yeah, the plans are still coming together, but we do have a plan. So the plan is to have part of the team sort of support the game, roll out as much content updates as possible to keep the game fresh. I think if you've been around live games, you know that they live or die by how fast you can get updates out. So we need to be able to push decent updates out at a regular rate. At the same time, have some of the team working on big content beats, right? So we want to have some people working on something a little bit larger for people to consume, and have those sort of hit at longer intervals. So if you can sort of imagine it, you have one long beat, which is the larger content updates that are hitting, and then in between that are lots of little beats, which are the frequent updates that we're trying to push out. Whether that just be like new events or just new free items that we give away, we'll just try to keep the game fresh. That's the plan, right? So I guess what's that military adage is like, yeah, every plan is great until the first shot's fired.
Right.
So I imagine we'll have to be doing a lot of adjustments to the plan as soon as it goes live. So I think part of that is you can plan out all the content you want, but then once players start playing the game and you can observe how they play the game, what they like and what they don't like, you need to change the plan based on that stuff. You need to give the players something that they're passionate about. As a designer, you might think that this feature you put into the game is really, really cool and nobody plays it. Well, you probably shouldn't double down on the thing that nobody plays. You should probably double down on the features that the people actually play. So we might have to change our plans based upon how we see players working with the game when they play it.
Do you see this as sort of a game as a service where there's going to be content, there's going to be end game raids? I mean, are you treating it like this, where it's sort of going to continue to evolve over time?
Absolutely. With this, there's so much in it. That's the other thing. We always do too much stuff, and there's so much in this game that once we find out here's what the players like, or here's what they're missing and they want, since we've built a system, our plan is to be adding into the game constantly, tweaking it, and have that, long-term interaction with all of our fans.
Now, the fans, I think, want to know about mods in an online environment.
Sure.
It's such a huge part of, your games over the years, BGS. How are you going to treat the idea of mods or user content in this environment?
We love mods, and so we are 100% committed to doing that in 76 as well.
Okay.
We will not be able to do that at launch, though.
Yep.
Our goal for launch, this is really new for us, is have a well-running, robust service, and then some period later, we're currently still designing what that service looks like. You'll be able to have your own private world and be able to mod it and do all of that. We think with our games, that's where like the long-term life of them really is.
Yeah.
That is trickier when you get into an online world, but we're definitely committed to that. Just won't be at launch. Anyway, we know together that we are going to build something really special. And we also know that all of you love our special editions, and we have an awesome collector's edition for you. It starts with a map of the world that glows in the fucking dark. And it's great. It's so cool. It comes with figures you can put on the map, and it also comes with a Fallout collectible that really I've always wanted, so we made them for everybody to buy, and here it is.
Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Ain't no use in diving. What's the use of diving? Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Bree, bree, doo, bree, bree, doo, da-da.
Yes, all of this, the Fallout 76 Power Armor Edition. So you're probably wondering, when is this game coming out? We're excited to say that it's coming out this year, November 14th.